Number 1. You've heard that cracking your knuckles causes arthritis, usually from someone wincing across the room. Multiple long-term studies, including one doctor who cracked the knuckles on only one hand for 60 years just to prove a point, found no increased arthritis risk. The sound is just gas bubbles collapsing in joint fluid. Satisfying, mildly annoying, medically irrelevant. Have you heard this one your whole life too? Number 2. 8 glasses of water a day, evenly spaced, or apparently your organs shut down. There's no science behind that specific number. It traces back to a 1945 recommendation that already included water from food, which most people just conveniently forgot. Your actual needs vary by body size, activity, and climate. Thirst, it turns out, is a remarkably good indicator that someone already invented. Number 3. Go outside with wet hair and you'll catch a cold, your grandmother warned. Colds are caused by viruses, not damp hair or drafty windows. You can be freezing and virus-free, or toasty warm and thoroughly infected. Cold weather just keeps people indoors together, which makes virus transmission easier. The temperature isn't the villain, the crowded living room is. Number 4. Cutting carbs entirely is treated like the golden rule of weight loss. But carbohydrates aren't inherently fattening. Excess calories are, regardless of source. Whole grains, fruits, and legumes are linked to better long-term health outcomes, not worse ones. This next one is the reason doctors get asked the same question every week. Number 5. Always stretch before exercising to prevent injury, right? Static stretching before a workout doesn't reliably reduce injury risk, and some research shows it can temporarily reduce muscle power. A dynamic warm-up works better. The old gym class stretch and hold routine wasn't science. It was just tradition wearing a lab coat. Number 6. You lose most of your body heat through your head, so bundle it up first. This idea traces back to a flawed 1950s military study that only measured heat loss from exposed heads because the rest of the body was covered. Any uncovered skin loses heat at roughly the same rate. Your head just got unfairly famous. Number 7. Take antibiotics for your cold or flu and you'll bounce back faster. Colds and flu are caused by viruses. Antibiotics only kill bacteria. Taking them anyway does nothing for your symptoms and contributes to antibiotic resistance, which is a genuinely bigger problem than the sniffles you're trying to fix. What else did we just accept without checking? Number 8. Sugar makes kids bounce off the walls. Multiple double-blind studies, including ones where parents were told their child had sugar when they hadn't, found no measurable link between sugar and hyperactivity. The energy was probably already there. Birthday parties are just loud regardless of frosting. Number 9. Humans only use 10% of their brain, so imagine the untapped potential. Brain imaging shows we use virtually all of it, just not all at once, the same way you don't use every muscle simultaneously. Neuroscientists have been correcting this one for decades, and it still refuses to die. Number 10. Shave your hair and it grows back thicker and darker. Shaving cuts hair at the surface, giving it a blunt edge that can feel coarser temporarily, but it doesn't change the follicle, color, or growth rate underneath. The illusion is entirely textural. We're still only scratching the surface of what gets repeated as fact. Number 11. No soreness after a workout means it didn't count. Muscle soreness comes from microscopic tissue damage and inflammation, not from effectiveness. Plenty of highly effective workouts produce minimal soreness, especially once your body adapts. Chasing pain as a metric is a great way to overtrain for no extra benefit. Number 12. Reading in dim light will ruin your eyesight. It can cause temporary eye strain and fatigue, sure, but there's no evidence it causes lasting damage. Your eyes just work harder in low light, the same way your legs work harder on an incline. Would this change how you think about your childhood reading light lectures? Number 13. Eating fat makes you fat, so cut it entirely. Dietary fat is calorie-dense, but healthy fats support hormone function, brain health, and nutrient absorption. The low-fat craze of the 90s often replaced fat with added sugar, which arguably made things worse. The nutrient got blamed for a marketing decision. Number 14. Load up on vitamin C the moment you feel a cold coming. Research consistently shows vitamin C doesn't prevent colds in the general population and only modestly shortens their duration in some cases. It's not useless, it's just wildly oversold. This next one is going to sound familiar to anyone who's ever shivered in a hallway. Number 15. Cold weather itself causes colds. As covered earlier, viruses cause colds, but this specific myth persists so hard it deserves its own entry. Temperature can mildly affect immune response and virus survival on surfaces, but you cannot catch a cold from temperature alone with zero virus present. It's genuinely all about exposure. Number 16, stop eating 3 hours before bed or the calories turn straight into fat overnight. Weight gain is driven by overall calorie balance over time, not the specific clock hour food enters your mouth. Late eating can disrupt sleep for some people, which is a real concern, but the midnight metabolism shutdown isn't how digestion works. Number 17. Stop working out and your muscle turns into fat. Muscle and fat are different tissue types. One cannot physically convert into the other, any more than wood turns into water. What actually happens is muscle atrophies from disuse while fat can accumulate from lower activity and calorie burn. Two separate processes, mistaken for one dramatic transformation. Number 18. Toilet seats are crawling with dangerous germs waiting to infect you. Toilet seats are actually less germ-dense than many everyday surfaces like phones, keyboards, and kitchen sponges, because they're cleaned more often and skin contact is brief. The fear is disproportionate to the actual risk. Have you ever actually looked into whether this was true? Number 19. Cracking your back regularly will damage your spine over time. Like knuckle cracking, this is mostly gas release in spinal joints, and there's no solid evidence linking occasional self-cracking to structural damage. Existing joint problems are a different story, but the sound alone isn't a warning siren. Number 20. Everyone needs exactly 8 hours of sleep, no exceptions, or your health suffers. Sleep needs genuinely vary by individual, age, and genetics, with healthy adults typically falling somewhere between 7 and 9 hours. Treating 8 as a rigid universal requirement creates unnecessary anxiety for people who function fine on slightly less or need slightly more. It gets more surprising from here. Number 21. Detox teas and juice cleanses flush toxins out of your system. Your liver and kidneys already handle detoxification continuously and remarkably well. No tea accelerates that process. Most detox effects are just temporary water weight loss or, less pleasantly, a stronger laxative effect. Your organs were already doing the job for free. Number 22. Starve a fever, feed a cold, an ancient rhyme still repeated at kitchen tables everywhere. There's no solid evidence that withholding food helps fight a fever, and adequate nutrition actually supports immune function during any illness. The rhyme is catchy, the physiology behind it is not. Number 23. Sitting too close to the TV permanently damages your eyes. It can cause temporary eye strain, similar to dim light reading, but there's no lasting damage from proximity alone. This myth largely originated from early televisions that emitted excess radiation, a problem that modern screens simply don't have. Number 24. Walking doesn't really count as exercise compared to real workouts. Regular brisk walking is linked to meaningfully lower risks of heart disease, stroke, and early death in large population studies. It doesn't need to hurt to count. This next one is the reason parents everywhere owe their kids a small apology. Number 25. Coffee stunts your growth if you drink it too young. This myth may trace back to old, poorly designed studies linking caffeine to lower bone density, but larger research shows no meaningful effect on height. Genetics and nutrition determine growth, not your parents' coffee cabinet. Number 26. Memory loss and confusion are just a normal, unavoidable part of getting older. Some cognitive changes are typical with age, but significant memory loss and confusion are often signs of treatable conditions, not an inevitable countdown. Writing off real symptoms as just aging can delay diagnoses that actually matter. Number 27. Every drink of alcohol kills brain cells, even in moderation. Chronic heavy drinking is genuinely linked to brain damage, but moderate occasional drinking doesn't cause the mass neuron die-off this myth implies. It's a case of a real risk at high doses getting flattened into a scary rule for every dose. Number 28. MSG causes headaches and is fundamentally dangerous to eat. Decades of controlled research have failed to find consistent evidence supporting what used to be called Chinese restaurant syndrome, a label with a genuinely uncomfortable history rooted in bias against a specific cuisine. MSG occurs naturally in tomatoes and parmesan, foods nobody panics about. Number 29. Napping during the day means something is wrong with your sleep. Short naps are a normal part of healthy sleep patterns in many cultures and can improve alertness and mood without indicating a disorder. Excessive daytime sleepiness despite good nighttime sleep is worth checking out, but a 20-minute nap alone is not a diagnosis. Number 30. You can catch up on lost sleep by sleeping in on the weekend. Weekend recovery sleep can ease some short-term fatigue, but it doesn't fully reverse the metabolic and cognitive effects of a week of sleep debt. Consistency matters more than dramatic weekend correction. We're still only scratching the surface of what gets repeated as fact. Number 31. Eggs and cholesterol-rich foods are terrible for your heart. Nutrition science has substantially walked this back. Dietary cholesterol has a much smaller effect on blood cholesterol for most people than previously believed, with saturated and trans fat playing a bigger role. Eggs went from villain to breakfast staple almost entirely through updated evidence. Number 32. Once you hit a certain age, your metabolism grinds to a near-total halt. Large-scale metabolic research actually shows total energy expenditure stays fairly stable from your 20s through your 50s, with more meaningful slowdowns appearing much later than most people assume. Muscle loss from inactivity plays a bigger role than birthdays do. Number 33. Reducing a fever with medication actually slows down healing, so it's better to just let it run. Fever is part of the immune response, but there's no strong evidence that appropriately managing discomfort with fever-reducing medication meaningfully impairs recovery for most illnesses. Comfort and healing aren't actually competing goals here. Number 34. Swallowed gum stays in your stomach for 7 years. Gum is largely indigestible, but your digestive system doesn't need to break it down to move it along. It typically passes through within days, same as other things you probably didn't intend to swallow. This next one is going to sound personal for anyone over 60. Number 35. Older adults shouldn't exercise because it's too risky for their joints. Research consistently links regular physical activity in older adults to better mobility, lower fall risk, and improved joint health, not worse. Appropriate exercise is one of the most protective things an aging body can do, not a threat to it. Number 36. Herbal supplements are automatically safe because they're natural. Natural doesn't mean risk-free. Arsenic is natural too. Herbal supplements can interact dangerously with prescription medications and, unlike pharmaceuticals, are far less rigorously regulated for dosage consistency and purity. Natural is a marketing word doing a lot of unearned heavy lifting. Number 37. If you're not sweating heavily, your workout wasn't effective. Sweat is a temperature regulation response, not a scoreboard for calories burned or muscle engaged. Strength training in a cool room can be intensely effective with minimal sweating, while sitting in a hot room barely moving can produce plenty of it. It genuinely gets more surprising from here. Number 38. Vaccines cause autism. This is possibly the most thoroughly investigated medical myth of the last 30 years, originating from a single now retracted study found to involve data manipulation. Dozens of large-scale studies across multiple countries and millions of children have found no link. The original claim didn't just fail to hold up, it collapsed entirely under scrutiny. Number 39. Sleeping with a fan on in a closed room can actually be dangerous or lethal. This myth is largely specific to a handful of regions and has no established physiological basis. Fans don't deplete oxygen or lower body temperature to dangerous levels in a normal room. It's a striking example of how a myth can be extremely regional and extremely persistent at once. Number 40. You should never wake a sleepwalker, or something terrible will happen. Waking a sleepwalker isn't inherently dangerous. It can cause confusion or disorientation, but the far greater risk is letting them continue moving around unsupervised near stairs, doors, or sharp objects. Gently guiding them back to bed is generally safer than the myth suggests. Number 41. Aches and pains after a certain age are just getting old and can't really be treated. Persistent pain at any age deserves proper evaluation rather than automatic dismissal. Attributing every symptom to aging alone can delay treatment for genuinely manageable conditions like arthritis, nerve issues, or muscle imbalances. Age explains some things. It doesn't explain everything. Number 42. Any fever is dangerous and must be brought down immediately, no matter how mild. Fever is a normal, often helpful immune response, and most moderate fevers in otherwise healthy people don't require aggressive intervention. It's the underlying cause and severity that matter far more than the number on the thermometer alone. Have you ever actually looked into whether this was true? Number 43. Once you're diagnosed with high blood pressure or diabetes, it's a lifelong sentence with no room for improvement. For many people, lifestyle changes, weight management, and consistent treatment can significantly improve or even reverse markers of these conditions, especially when caught early. Chronic doesn't always mean unchangeable. a distinction that gets lost fast after a diagnosis. Number 44. Antibacterial soap is more effective than regular soap at stopping illness. Regular soap and water mechanically remove germs just as effectively for everyday use, and major health regulators have found no meaningful extra benefit from antibacterial versions for typical consumers. Plus growing concern about their chemical additives, the extra label wasn't backed by extra protection. Number 45. Older adults need significantly less sleep than younger adults. Sleep needs decline only slightly with age, and older adults still generally need around 7 to 8 hours. What actually changes more is sleep quality and continuity, not the underlying need, a distinction that gets flattened into old people just need less sleep far too often. Number 46. And here's the big one to close on. Once you're past a certain age, it's basically too late to meaningfully improve your health. This might be the most consequential myth on this entire list, because people use it to talk themselves out of trying. Research consistently shows meaningful improvements in cardiovascular health, strength, mobility, and even cognitive function at virtually any age you start. The body doesn't have a cutoff date for responding to better habits. We just act like it does. So there it is. 46 things that everybody knows, and 46 reasons that knowing something confidently isn't the same as it being true. None of this makes anyone gullible. These ideas spread because they're catchy, intuitive, or repeated by people we trust, not because anyone involved was careless. The real skill isn't memorizing corrections. It's staying curious enough to keep asking where a fact actually came from. So, out of all 46, which one genuinely surprised you the most? If you liked digging through this one, there's a whole lot more common knowledge worth double-checking, and I'll be right here going through it with you, so it might be worth sticking around for that.